Hello. Is this thing on? Are we all here? Hello, folks. Welcome in. You know what day it is? It is, of course, Choppin' Tuesday. So today we're going to be chopping a cliff over at the ancient capital. A little bit more. Got some fresh tea. Hopefully you all got some snacks and some tea. Princess Corona Games, Gandarian, Scotsman, and Kimiki, thank you so much for the resubs. Darwin, thank you for the 100 bits. And hello. Welcome in. So today, we're starting a little later because I had some electricians coming to give us quotes for installing an extractor fan in our bathroom. Exciting adult things. Tomorrow we've got the plumbers in as well, so it's a busy week here in the Rifts household. Tomorrow's stream will be going ahead as planned. We're going to be streaming some more Elden Ring with Zoe XP, but I've already edited together the previously on segment for that, so that's going to be really fun. But yeah, today we're going to be on Empires. We're going to be doing what the people of Twitter asked me to do. I gave Twitter a poll. This is why you should be following me on Twitter, I guess. I said, what should we do today? Should we do Terraforming on Empires, or should we do more Fetcher? And everybody, like the vast majority of people voted for Empires, so we are Empiresing it up. Tricia, thank you for the 500 bits. Teeny Bit, thank you for the 13 months. And yeah, we're just going to have a nice chill one today. I'm going to be working on a bit more of the Cliff Plateau on Empires. Lizzie is on right now as well. But yeah, we're just going to be chilling. And where am I? Okay, I am here. I didn't recognize the surroundings for a second. We'll give a wave to Lizzie. Hello. So yeah, I got a few boxes. I had to remove them from the cliff top because I was taking screenshots of this the other day. And the bell is still ringing in the museum, but that's only because I placed and broke a bed in there and then thought, oh, why did I do that? Because it's just going to keep ringing. I'm probably going to start by finishing the path over on this side, placing a bunch of grass, and then somewhere in the middle of this, I think actually about here, is where I want to have the river come down, so we're probably going to reconsider some of this. But in the meantime, we can get on with the rest of the texturing. It's all good. Westy, thank you for gifting that sub. Bimunculus with 100 bits, thank you for the 100. Hopefully you're all having a wonderful day. I think, to start with, we need what's in here, because we need moss. I'll just put all of these down, I might as well. We'll throw them all down here. We've got stone in that one. The more exciting stone in that one. You know how it's like that one meme that's like Daniel and the cooler Daniel? I should probably put this actually in my ender chest before I accidentally lose all of the Rendog gubbins that I've collected. Hopefully everyone enjoyed Monday's episode, by the way. Monday had a fresh new episode of Empires go up on the YouTube channel, so it's nice to be back uploading those. Mossy cobble. We got some tuff here. We need andesite for bits and pieces as well. And I think that'll get us as far as the moss stuff, and then we can add some grass blocks if I can remember where I put those. I must just have them in storage because I don't have them here. Oh well, not to worry. Right, let's get on with this. Let's add in a few more of these. Episode was great, too long, but you deserve time off too. Yeah, I'm quite happy that I took a bunch of time off. And, yeah, still feeling like it's going to be a little bit slow to get going again, but we should be fine. Just kind of enjoying taking things at my own pace right now. And having the Elden Ring streams on top of this stuff is also really nice. Will the survival guide return alongside 1.20? Probably yes, if not before, but I don't know when 1.20 is going to come out at this point, so unless they set a release date, I will still be working on the theory that survival guide should be coming back sometime in between. Let's throw some moss in here, probably a couple there. We'll keep the mossy cobblestone going into a bit of this, and then the tuff can go kind of like there as well. See you later, Aussie. Have a good one. Sleep well. Best to play at your own pace. We're here for the journey. That's the hope, at least, yes. I'm fortunate to have a very patient and understanding audience in a lot of ways, so that's you. If I ever got invited to Hermitcraft, would I join? I think we're a little bit past that now. There we go. Midday here in Argentina. It's 35 Celsius at the moment. Can't leave the house with this heat wave. Gosh, send some of it over to me. I'm having the mildest of early springs. I mean, it's not even really spring yet, technically speaking, but would love it to be a little warmer here. Obviously, that's usually the case. People in warmer countries want it cooler. People in colder countries want it warmer. California is going through some horrendous flooding right now. I'm hearing about it from the American relatives, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like California at all. So yeah, about here is where we want to have the river starting, so we can worry about that another time. Crossover is fun. Maybe I'm in the minority not caring all that much for Hermitcraft. Fair enough. Fair enough. There's a lot of people who really like the storyline aspect of what we're doing on Empires, but there's also a lot of people who really like just people hanging out playing Minecraft together and building fun stuff. So yeah, it really depends on your taste, I suppose. Seen a lot of YouTubers using Litematica to push out projects and videos faster. A lot of the stuff I've been doing here wouldn't be possible without Litematica. Or at least it would, but I'd have to work from screenshots, which is honestly, like, people who are not fans of Litematica, like, I get it in one sense, because building with a guideline in-game like that feels more mechanical, and often looks more mechanical when you're doing it in, like, time lapses and stuff. It's fairly obvious if somebody's using Litematica because they're building structures from, like, the ground up, like they're 3D printing it. But on the flip side, it's so much easier to work from Litematica than it is for doing what you would normally be doing, which is either work with another copy of the Minecraft world open on a second monitor or work from screenshots. And, like, I don't see if there's really any... Oh, there's another shulker box right there. That's probably the one I was looking for. I don't really see there being too much difference from an artistic perspective, whether you're, like, copying something from a screenshot or if you're using Litematica. You get more or less the same results. If anything, Litematica is just, like, easier and more accurate, which is really what I prefer over any sense that I'm, like, doing it the legit way. Why suffer if you've had better tools? Yeah. It's like... Obviously, this is a very weird analogy because art doesn't necessarily work this way, at least, like, traditional visual art, but it's kind of like going through the process of drawing something, like sketching something on paper, and then inking all of the lines, and then scanning it into the computer, and then inking all of the lines and stuff again digitally, instead of just starting with a digital canvas. And, like, some artists might prefer to do it that way, just because it makes more sense for their way of working, but to me that doesn't sound like the right approach at all if you have, you know, enough experience with digital art that you're going to be just building it there anyway. There's probably a bunch of artists sitting in the chat now think I'm an idiot, but, you know, that's sort of the way I feel about it. If you built it yourself and you're just transferring it to survival, you have to gather all the supplies, make the designing creative, place all the blocks. Yeah, no, it's still like you're still not using creative mode in survival, so it can still feel kind of, it's a legit survival build. It just happens to have been designed in creative and you bring a blueprint over. Don't really see the difference there, personally. Like an architect making blueprints for a real IRL structure. Yeah, you don't go to a regular real life architect and go, yeah, well, you planned all of this beforehand. It's not legit unless you just got some bricks and started building and then saw what happened, right? But honestly, like, just having light matica at your disposal doesn't necessarily mean stuff happens any faster for you. You gotta know how to use it. You gotta be able to plan. The only light matic issue people might have is the easy place feature. Yeah, and I don't tend to use that because it does allow you to do stuff that you couldn't do in survival or creative, for that matter. Like, it lets you place blocks in midair without any kind of supporting blocks, which you can't even do if you're building, like, by hand in creative. You can use commands, obviously, but that doesn't really feel like, you know, in the spirit of it to me. But then if you're just using it to copy over stuff in creative anyway, then sure, go nuts. I don't really have any problems with other people doing that either. It's just my own preference. I do like the rooted dirt a lot in this. Joel was saying on the podcast the other day how it kind of reminds him of, like, burnt grass or something, and I like that as a vibe for around here. I don't know if that's necessarily what it is to me in this, but it's a nice way of looking at it, you know? It's a sandbox game. If you're having fun, you're doing it right. Good way of looking at it. Light Matica reminds me of an internship I did with a group of archaeologists. They're running, working with an architect to develop a 3D model of a build they had excavated. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, talking with ArchaeoPlays about, like, some of the 3D scans they take of structures and looking at the 3D model of Petra that was on, I forget what the site is now. I probably still have it, like, bookmarked somewhere. But there's a kind of historical conservation site. Oh, ArchaeoPlays is here. Maybe you can remind me what the site was that had the 3D model of Petra. 3D scan of Notre Dame is being used to rebuild it after the fire? Yeah, yeah. And same goes for like stuff like free cam. Like I really appreciate being able to use free cam to get a look at this from a distance and go, yeah, that looks about right. Zamani Project, that's the one. I knew it sounded something like that in my head, but I didn't want to like get it completely wrong. Embarrass myself in front of chat. Not that I don't do that anyway, but you know. Yeah. We'll have a little bit of grass creeping in here. And then when we figure out what exactly the river is doing, I don't know if that'll be on this stream, but yeah, we might be able to border the river with slightly more lush blocks. Can you craft rooted dirt? No. At least I don't think you can. I think I tried at one point, and you couldn't. You can farm it pretty easily from growing azalea saplings, and obviously that gets you a ton of oak wood and leaves, and other bits and pieces. But if you don't want to do that, you can also just go to an azalea that's naturally grown in the world and find it. Because you dig up underneath one of those azalea roots and you get maybe like 5 or 6 stacks minimum. I mean, depending on how quickly the lush cave appears, I suppose. But like, I dug up 2 or 3 of them and I got like almost a full shulker box. How do I get my build ideas? A lot of this is inspired by another video game I'm playing on Twitch elsewhere called Elden Ring. Which is basically the newest Dark Souls style game. At least from the Dark Souls developers. There's a lot of other Dark Souls style games. But yeah, Elden Ring inspired a lot of the look of this because it's a ruined landscape, and so there's a lot of houses and churches and different like environments, towns, cities, things like that, which are in various states of decay and disrepair. And I really wanted to build something like that to demonstrate the history of this world. And the inspiration for that comes from the fact that empires is a theme where, in the first season at least, we were all new and flourishing nations, or at least that's what it felt like. It didn't really feel like anybody's world had already been there. You know, anybody's empire was already part of the landscape. It really felt like they'd all just grown from nothing. And I really like the idea of almost doing the opposite and building an empire that was just passing into the history of this world and didn't really feel like it was part of the political goings on of the rest of the server, because I didn't want to participate too much in the roleplay side of things. So a lot of my approach this season has been informed by that point of view. The idea of not really having a character who gets involved in conflict and that, and obviously like I've been part of some stuff just for the sake of wanting to be in other people's videos, but it's been mostly the building around here has really been about exploring what it's like to be an empire that isn't like a current world power now, you know? It was Scott who stole my Deep Slate Emerald. I know. I tend to not worry about talking about stuff like that on stream, but yes, I'm aware it was Scott. It's fine. Ardbeg Cultist, thank you for the 29 months. Cute Pyro, thank you for the 100 bits. The lore on Sausage's streams has been huge. Yeah, Sausage has been like firing on all cylinders this season as far as like the storyline stuff goes, which is very cool. Almost wish Empire Season 3 would be further out, but someone would have the builds from Season 2 and be able to decay them a bit. Yeah, there's some merit to ideas like that, but also, like, it's actually quite difficult for my money. Like, this may vary depending on if anyone else has tried this before, but I find it quite difficult to take an existing set of Minecraft builds and make them look realistically ruined. I don't know, there's something about building them as ruins from the start that really feels like it works better for me. Because yeah, you can take a bunch of pre-built houses and stuff and tear them down and like leave the roofs sort of like half broken in and that kind of stuff, but I don't know if it's just because on a thematic level it doesn't really feel like I'm the one making the decisions, that it doesn't really appeal to me so much. But yeah, something about that I'm not the biggest fan of. Which is not to say that it's a bad idea, I'm just not the right person to do it, maybe. Can totally see the Elden Ring inspiration coming through. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yeah, it has been really funny exploring Limgrave on stream, and obviously on the last stream, bits of Caelid, but me and Zloy have been going through Elden Ring in the Seamless Co-op mod, and it's fun exploring that on stream so that people can get to see a bit of the inspiration behind this stuff. Like, again, Fringe Folk Hero's Grave, or like the starting area where you come out and there's a statue on top of this pedestal. Like in Elden Ring, the statue is much smaller and the pedestal is like 3 stories high, but I sort of imagine this section as being like that. And the roofs here are, like, the mansard roof style is really based on a lot of the buildings in Lanedale, the royal capital, which is a location we won't be going to for a long, long time. I think. Unless Zloy really takes us off the beaten track. And then, yeah, there's like ruins and bits and pieces around. I wanted to do a couple of the ruined sort of church buildings, but to really work on this scale, I wanted them to be much larger. And this castle is going to be modelled out of Stormvale a little bit. Not like the same footprint, because it's a different shaped piece of terrain. But there's going to be a lot of it that's inspired heavily by Stormvale. Including, if possible, if I ever have time for it, I kind of want to do like a under the castle section where there's some like creepier stuff going on. If nothing else, the machine is underneath here somewhere, so that's creepy enough, I think. Not quite as creepy as what's actually there, but don't let Fwip find out you aren't double turting. I mean, I think Fwip will understand at this point. And he said when he came over here to talk about it on a stream recently, I was doubling up on the stone in this area, and he said the main problem is when you're building really tall terrain. If you're building like a mountain over a flat plains biome that's at sea level and you're building the mountain up to like Y250 or whatever, the problem becomes that the game is trying to perform lighting updates for all the air blocks in between that block you break at the top and the ground, and that's really what causes the issues. It's not It's not even like opening up a block here and letting light through. It's the fact that it would have to update like an exponential number of air blocks on the way down. So that's where the major problems start to happen. But I think the double dirt thing has almost just become a meme for his community at this point. It's not even necessarily about the technical side of things anymore. It's more like Etho not wanting to have an area like this that's not filled in with resources or something. Which, you know, let's see if he's doing that with his base on Hermitcraft right now. Thought double dirt was when you make path blocks with that lower pixel. Yeah, maybe. But, yeah, this place isn't going to be many path blocks to begin with, so... And yeah, having a little extra texture in there is always a good idea. So, like, if I wanted to put gravel up here, then... yeah, having a block underneath that would be kind of helpful at that point, but again, that's not something I'm too worried about. Amazing gradient from stone to grass. Thank you. I really like this. I like it a lot. It's got some fun blocks in here, and I do think packed mud has basically become the dirt equivalent of a really, really neutral stone texture. So having packed mud in paths like this, I think is brilliant. Scar is just falling through the floor a lot. Yeah, and that's fine. Scar is known for falling from things at this stage. Do I find Scar's recent terraforming project to be an inspiration to this? Confession time, I don't watch Scar's videos. And that's not out of any dislike of him. I think he's a fantastic builder, a terraformer, and an all-round great guy. He's just not who I watch for the Hermitcraft recap. And so... I haven't really been taking inspiration from Scar's stuff because I haven't been watching his videos at all regularly. It's the kind of thing where at this point I tend to just watch the hermits that I watch for the recap. I don't tend to watch many of them recreationally, which is a shame because they're all great at what they do, but I don't always have time during the week, you know? How do we split the videos? Do exclamation point hermits in the chat, and you'll see the full list of the people I watch. And Zloy watches all the others. Can't be expected to keep up with the content of your peers. I know, right? There's too many of them. Hey, Anaja, what's up? Yeah, I watch maybe like, 12 of the hermits. Which obviously depends heavily on whether they've uploaded that week. But it varies. It varies a lot. Impressive to watch that many. Yeah, I mean, I do the Hermitcraft recap. I kind of have to, right? I feel like I'm not pulling my weight otherwise. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there. There are more than 20 of them. There's like 23, 24, something like that, I think. And some of them aren't as active as others, but then sometimes they just come back for, TCG and stuff. So, yeah, the appearance of Wells Knight recently was a pleasant surprise. But Zloy watched him before, so Zloy just went back to watching him. Life has been changed by 1.5 times speed. Yeah, I watch everything on Hermitcraft at double speed as well, but I do that basically on, like, Friday or Saturday. Yeah, it was definitely a relief when they started splitting the TCG stuff into separate videos, but most of the time we would skip through those sections anyway, because we don't want to spoil the outcomes of games for people, but that was really the only significant stuff that happened as far as TCG goes. Like, we weren't keeping track of game strategy or anything like that, so we figured we'd probably just, like, pass over a lot of that stuff. Because it's not like they were discussing builds and upcoming projects and stuff so much in the middle of their card games. They were more focused on the card game not taking 3 hours to play. Yeah, Wells is doing that alongside his, like, Fire Emblem content and stuff. G the B, thanks so much for the 100 bits. And happy Pi Day to you. Gosh, it is 3/14, isn't it? I didn't even realise. Mainly because we don't, like, put the date that way around in the UK, but... that aside, it is Pi Day, so hope everyone's getting some pie. What happened to the Hermit Dare Stick? I think iJevin had it at the last count, or maybe Cleo had it. It all kind of happened around the same time as the King storyline, so I think that sort of took over for them. And then obviously the collab with Empires happened, they all came over here, and so the Dare Stick stuff didn't really continue beyond that. Been cool to catch up on the spawn chunks and see the cliff being made in real time while we talk about it in episodes. Yeah, with long projects like this, they're going to just be on the podcasts a lot. So look forward to more updates on the cliff and how it's going. Hopefully the castle will end up starting before long, so I'll be able to talk about that instead. Okie doke. Let's go grab some more grass. I'm leaving this part open because I think that's where the river is going to start. Ilmango uses a mod to place blocks diagonally 1 level down. Gosh, that sounds like I'm not sure how you would even interact with that. That sounds like more difficult than it should be. Have some cake, I have no pie. Fair enough. Sounds like Bedrock has placing blocks next to each other when facing... Oh, right, like Bedrock bridging kind of thing. I guess, but then diagonally 1 block down is like being able to staircase down. Imagine how that would change Skyblock. if you're able to do that in vanilla, right? Like, I presume Il Mango's not using it for stuff where that's supposed to be part of the challenge, but still, like... Just add some crumble. Oh, love a good crumble. Crumble is an excellent suggestion. I never used to like crumble and stuff like that when I was younger. I didn't like hot desserts too much when I was younger. But these days, oh, I could murder a crumble. Part of the Skyblock experience is anxiety. Baked a blueberry one last night. It's half gone. Oh. Well, at least it's gone to a good place. Rhubarb is the best. Rhubarb is a divisive one, from what I've heard. People not into people have strong opinions about rhubarb. Partner made horrible oatmeal cookies, but they made for a great crumble topping. Oh well, I'm glad they had a second attempt, a second chance to prove themselves. I'm an O'Lally Berry pie fan. You'll have to explain what that is. She's a singer, isn't she? Terrible, terrible dad jokes. In my house, all cookies have to prove themselves. Oh my goodness. Stand before the cookie judge, lest ye be judged a terrible cookie by the household and be made into crumble for your crimes. Thought she was an actress? Kind of does both, doesn't she? I'm pretty sure. What's rhubarb? Rhubarb with a B. Tempting as it is to say what's rhubarb with you. I don't think that makes any sense. And my favorite crumble is Up Dog. Speaking of our adventures in Elden Ring, I was playing the other day and there was an area where you walk into a tunnel somewhere and there's basically one of the kind of vampire bat enemies hanging from the ceiling, and somebody had left a player message that said, up, comma, dog. And for a start, I thought that was incredible because players refer to any animal in Elden Ring as a dog, as like a joke, because that's one of the only animals you can select from the kind of player messages. But also it was an up dog joke, and I was like, that's incredible. You've done very well there, sir. Thank you. You are my Elden Lord. Yes, the double whammy dad joke. You gotta love them. Rhubarb is a low-lying plant. The leaves are broad but toxic. The stems are edible and make a good tart addition to pie or dessert topping. In the UK, rhubarb and custard is a phenomenon, which has even been turned into hard candy. And rhubarb and custard candies were some of my favorites growing up. I haven't had them for ages. But, yeah, you'd have rhubarb crumble with custard topping. It's very good. And yes, Rhubarb and Custard, also a cartoon series. My granddad used to grow rhubarb. He passed away 20 years ago, and it still grows in the backyard. Stuff is persistent. Yeah. Shout out to granddads and growing stuff. Like, my sister now lives in my granddad's house and has continued to grow stuff there, which makes me very, very happy, very proud. Because there's lots of good, like, fruit bushes and stuff out there. Lots of blackberries and stuff grow there in autumn. It's good pickings. What's my favorite non-Minecraft game? I mean, right now it's Elden Ring. I'm also playing a lot of Marvel Snap. But honestly, there are so many incredible games that I played throughout my life, it would be very difficult to choose a favorite. As far as, like, games that I put the most hours into outside of Minecraft, Stardew Valley comes pretty close. Terraria comes pretty close. The trailer for the new Heart Machine game, Hyperlight Breaker, just dropped on IGN's YouTube channel today, and oh yeah, Celeste. Celeste is another incredible one. I loved Hyperlight Drifter. I have the soundtrack to that on vinyl, and it was like not available for the longest time, so for a while I was just like, oh, this is one of those coveted vinyls that I will never own, and then they reissued it, and I was so happy. But yeah, I really wanna try out Hyperlight Breaker because Drifter was incredible. I've not played Outer Wilds. No, it's one of those ones that I've heard of, but it's sort of, yeah, it came out at a time when I wasn't playing a huge amount of other games, and other than Minecraft. I haven't played Core Keeper yet either, but I have that on Steam. It's one of those ones I bought and thought, yeah, I'll pick this up one of these days. But it's an early access game, so I feel like if it gets a 1.0 release and I end up picking it up then, maybe there'll be a bit more hype around it, and it might justify me checking it out. Not that the game itself doesn't justify itself, but I have to be spending my time certain ways. He says, currently playing Marvel Snap all the time. So much of the visual storytelling and lore goes over my head. The fact that it's there, though, is part of what makes the game so rich. Yeah, I think the fact that it's there if you want it, but it doesn't have to be part of your experience, is the thing that draws me to it so much. And the reason I thought it was good fodder for stuff like this, because like you can draw plenty of conclusions about some of the stuff that I built here. Whether you're right or not is another matter, but more of a Rocket League sort of guy. I played Rocket League back in the day. Me and Anaja played Rocket League back in the day. But yeah, I've not played Rocket League for ages. I think since they introduced that, like, yeah, we did. Good times. What was the kind of the game mode where there was more chaotic like power-ups and stuff, and things would get kind of wacky, and suddenly you'd be like, your controls would be reversed and people would get all kinds of like different power-ups, modifiers. Yeah, I can't remember what it was called. Was it Rumble? I thought Rumble was something different. I'm probably misremembering, but that was probably the last time I played Rocket League, was when they introduced that. And it's not like that game mode put me off or anything. I just, like, I don't know, my Minecraft stuff started taking off and I had less time to play a variety of games. But yeah, Rocket League was fun back in the day. Like, just playing just casual pickup games was a lot of fun. Mutations, that was what they were called. It was I never quite internalized the terminology, but it was some good vibes. So some fun little collabs. Rediscover the joy of baby bells, Raymond. Nice. Should do a comeback on Murder. Oh gosh, Murder. Oh yeah, I meant to say, Anaja, I saw what you sent me on Twitter the other day. I'm not sure if I'd have time for it, but I appreciate the offer. But yeah, like, I don't know. There's some really good Minecraft mini games out there, and Murder was super fun to play. No, yeah, I figured. You were very kind to say as much, and I appreciate that. But yeah, no, I've been playing a lot of Minecraft Bingo lately, and Minecraft Bingo is a really fun, like, mini game to stream or record or whatever. And so Murder was like that. It was like, just hop in, play a couple of rounds, no pressure, it's just fun. Murder. Used to play Dwarves vs. Zombies back in the day. I've heard of Plants vs. Zombies. I'm not sure about the other one. Where am I? What am I doing? More grass? Yeah, I think more grass. This is starting to blend into something like a coherent landscape, but again, most of the stuff where it's just grass blocks is just going to have a castle built over it, so I'm not worrying about texture for that at all. Holy camera mode. Yes, we have free cam on this. It makes building without like flying up every 3 seconds to look at it from Elytra point of view makes it very, very nice. I think I need to go and get more grass. MJ Temry, thank you so much for the resubs. Technology. We got a couple of sneaky ones on this server. Is free cam spectator mode? It's not exactly, because you're not putting your character in spectator mode. Like, you can still get hit by stuff. Like, I am here. Hello, welcome to me. But then, oh yeah, this is my dodo. For anyone who hasn't seen Winchester, this is my boy. Yeah, the free cam thing is more just like detaching the camera from your point of view. But if you get attacked by anything, it like jumps back into your head so that you can run away or whatever you'd happen to do. I just learned to fly finally. Yeah, I mean, it's evolved a lot since its introduction, because of course when you first had Elytra in the game, you couldn't boost yourself with fireworks and stuff, so now that's a thing. As back in the day when everyone on Hermitcraft was like shooting themselves in midair with punch bows to be able to fly. And you just kind of think, how do we ever get along with that? Like, obviously it became sort of necessary after a while, but yeah, the alarm bell's still going at the museum. I went and fixed it, and then I broke a block myself in there because I put a bed down to sleep. I logged in and out at the museum, and so I was like, oh, it's nighttime outside, let me sleep. And then when I broke my bed, the alarm went off again, and I just went, well, whatever, I'll just leave it. It's not like I'm around it enough for it to annoy me right now. My friends just got Elytra for the first time in our world. They're so impressed because it's been a while since they played. I mean, yeah, it's... For people who haven't played since, like, 1.9 or earlier, man, this game has got a lot more stuff in it now. A time before shulkers had a use? I know! When shulkers were just a mob that levitated you. And then suddenly everyone was like, well, we can transport our entire inventories in an ender chest. It's another free cam type thing some hermits use where the camera seems to follow them. I think that's more like an expansion to third-person camera where you can switch it to like an over-the-shoulder kind of shot, or you can have the camera in like a fixed location around you, but it still kind of like follows you if you're running forwards. I know B-Dubs does that a lot in his videos, but I'm not sure what that mod is. I assume it's a client-side thing. Doc M is always talking about Tweakaroo or Mini HUD, or whichever one it is that has the third-person camera. One of my close friends always digs a massive hole in his Minecraft world. I got to introduce him to the beauty of beacons. He's a James LRR type. A chunk puncher. Do I like Marvel films? I kind of fell off them after Endgame. Like, that felt like really the closing of that chapter, I guess, of my my interest in Marvel movies. I've seen a couple of them since then, but I don't follow absolutely everything. I kind of like the series they've done lately more than the films. Like, I thought Wakanda Forever was like a really beautiful tribute to Chadwick Boseman, but as a movie, I didn't really like it all that much. It sort of felt like it was weighed down by the fact that it still had to be an action movie. and couldn't just be like a tribute to this wonderful actor, you know? Moon Knight was good. I still haven't seen it. I'm the same with Star Wars stuff now. Like, I kind of enjoyed it being sort of scarce, and the movies felt like an event, and it was like just something to get excited about there being more of it. And now there's so many new series that I can hardly keep up with them, so I just sort of don't. Although right now we're watching Willow on Disney Plus, and I'm like, this is weird. It's cool, but it's weird. I hadn't had any context for Willow the movie, but my partner had watched it growing up and obviously had an immense amount of nostalgia for it, and so I was like, yeah, we'll give this a try. Like, we'll check it out, and it's fun. Like, it's really fun. Like, it's just having harmless, silly fun. And sometimes that's what you need from a fantasy story. Honestly, that's how you feel about Lord of the Rings. Oh, kind of like the Rings of Power series being like, it was fun when these were an event, but now they're making series after series about it. It's a fun fantasy story that doesn't take itself too seriously. And Mad Martigan is the man. The funny thing is, I didn't realize until the credits rolled on that movie that his name is all one word. It's Mad Martigan. It's like that's just like his entire name. So he's not like being described as mad and his name is Martigan. His name is Mad Martigan. And I was like, what? Change my perspective on the entire movie in the credits sequence, don't you? Like, it was funny. But yeah, Warwick Davis in that is like, on the one hand, like it's a different, like, the acting is obviously from like a different era, but him playing that character in the modern series, especially with his voice, there's something about his delivery. He sounds like both Richard Ayoade and the Garth Marenghi character from Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. And he's delivering Garth Marenghi style lines in the middle of this like tongue-in-cheek like fantasy series. Like, there's a bit where like one character is like mouthing off about another one, and Willow goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot you're hilarious." And something about it just really reminded me of Dark Place, and it's like, it's so good. It's just very funny. Yeah, Warwick Davis is great. Like, there's a point in that in one of the episodes of the Willow series where he's trying to get his friend, who's another one of the Nelwyns, to like leave him alone while he's preparing a spell, and he's like, "Go on, just go and shiv somebody." It's like such a weird thing to say, but it's great. It's so funny. Have I watched Knives Out? Yeah, I like the first movie a lot. I thought Glass Onion was good. It's not as good as the first one, but I feel like the weight of expectation was on it at this point, and obviously, like, the portrait of a self-important, deluded billionaire could not have come at a better time. But yeah, I think it's a good series. I'm looking forward to seeing if they do more of them. And Daniel Craig is just, oh, chef's kiss. Poker Face is amazing. I've heard. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's good. Richard Ayoade's character Moss from IT Crowd reminds you of a good friend from uni. I'll just put this over here with the rest of the fire. Daniel Craig seems like he genuinely enjoys Benoit Blanc. I feel like you would enjoy any role that you got to make choices like that in after having played James Bond. There was an interview I saw with Daniel Craig a short while ago, and the interviewer asked him, like, to sum up briefly his thoughts on... There's a pig in a hole. His thoughts on this pig being in this hole. No, like, sum up briefly his thoughts on, like, who was going to be cast as the next Bond, and he was just like, not my problem. And I'm like, it must be such a relief to have worked on something like that and then just gone, I don't have to do that anymore. But yeah, it was like a lightning round question being like, who's the next Bond? And he's like, I don't know. Why are you asking me? Just a paid gig. Who would I want to see as the next James Bond? I don't know, to be honest. I've never had a huge attachment to the James Bond series in general. But, like, I don't know. Like, a lot of people saying Idris Elba. I think Idris Elba would be fine. I would like them to do a Doctor Who and just be like, let's cast Jodie Whittaker as the next James Bond. See how that goes. See, I don't think Christian Bale would do it. I mean, I don't know if he wouldn't play James Bond. I just don't think he's right for it. I feel like a lot of Christian Bale's characters that I've seen are fairly, like, unhinged, and you could have an unhinged James Bond, but I don't think he's got the right amount of, like, suave likability about him now with the career that he's had. People bring in a lot of what they already know about an actor. Richard Ayoade is the next Bond. Nah. Yeah, like Thor: Love and Thunder was one of the Marvel movies I've actually seen recently, and him being Gore in that is like, yeah, like he's fine being the kind of emaciated guy in grey makeup who's kidnapping kids from the new Asgard or whatever. Like that's the vibe. Thor 4 was kind of disappointing. I don't know, I thought it was alright. I thought it was okay. It must be really weird working as an actor or having any kind of role in that industry and understanding that your reputation precedes you in the sense that your previous roles are going to have you pigeonholed as a certain type of character, though. Someone just brought up Tom Hiddleston as a potential next Bond, and I'm like, I don't think I see that happening, because people are just going to be like, why is Loki playing James Bond now, you know? It's like everybody remembering David Tennant for playing the Doctor in Doctor Who. He's done a variety of other stuff. McWeezus, Jack Grimm, thank you so much for the sub and the Prime sub. I can't believe I'm at the point where I'm actually running out of grass blocks now. What even is this? Getting there, getting there. I think the river's coming through here at this point. I sort of wanted it to be this mountain spring, so like we'd actually use the water source from Minecraft and turn that into a river that came down here. And technically we still could, but I sort of think that it's going to be coming from someplace more central, really. And then it can run straight down between these two trees, so it doesn't have to collide with any of the stuff I've already done over there. I know Chris Evans does a lot of other films, but I can't see him as anything other than Captain America now. See, I think the fact that they kind of retired that character has helped me see Chris Evans as anybody else. But I was also watching a bunch of other movies that Chris Evans had been in around the time he started doing the Captain America stuff. Like, he'd just been Lucas Lee and Scott Pilgrim. I'd seen him in Push, which is kind of like a less known role of his. I'm pretty sure it's him, unless it's somebody really similar, like Chris Pine or someone. another one of the Chris's, but I think it's Chris Evans. And yeah, he's in Knives Out, and like, yes, Push was him. Okay, good. I'm not losing my mind. Yeah, like he's done a variety of other stuff leading up to that sort of put him on the map for me before the Marvel stuff really kicked off. So, oh, and yeah, it's Snowpiercer. I have such a mixed feeling about that movie. My story about Snowpiercer is that my partner was really into this movie, was like really excited that the director was doing it, and there was so many kind of interesting things about it. And we couldn't go and see it in the cinema in the UK. It had a really limited release. I don't think we were able to go see it at the time. And so we ended up getting it on DVD basically as soon as we could, because they were really into it. But then it turns out the earliest we could get it on DVD was to get a DVD from overseas. And so we got a European copy of the DVD that had the dialogue in English, and so we thought, yeah, fine, we can just watch this in English. And it turns out there's a whole subplot of that movie, or like, you know, one of the main plots really, one of the other characters that it's following is Korean and speaks Korean. And there weren't English subtitles on this DVD, and they weren't burned into the picture, so we had absolutely no idea what was going on with the Korean characters in that movie for the entire thing. And the Chris Evans plotline in Snowpiercer is so bleak that I came away without any of the hopeful messages from that movie, and it was just horrific for 90 plus minutes. And so I just didn't get the right experience of it, and I just felt like vaguely traumatized by it at the end, because it was just people being awful to each other the whole movie, without the message of hope that's kind of embedded in there between the Korean characters. See you later, Scooby. Have a good one. Fazoo, welcome in. Thank you for the 30 months. And Useless Rogue, thank you for gifting 5 subs. Very generous of you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's continue building this up around here. And I think what we'll do... Yeah, we'll aim to build this up on the sides. And obviously the river is going to be running down through a natural, worn riverbed in the landscape, so we can start to build this up on the sides. And if we have to make changes to it later, we don't need to get too precious about it. Did I start designing the castle in creative? No, because in creative I would like to be designing it with this area in mind. Like, I can design individual pieces of it maybe, but it's kind of difficult to build the structure without considering the terrain in this case. And because it's terrain that I haven't finished building yet, I kind of want to make sure that I have a creative copy of the world. I can ask for it for a world download, and we can actually build it on top of this area instead of it just being, you know, hastily slapped together from like a kit that I built in creative, you know? What kind of music do I like? Anything and everything, really. Like, I'm not that fussy about music. I just like to listen to a variety of stuff. I had a Spotify playlist I was building a while ago that was like, this is my taste in music, but I feel like I could add literally anything I listen to that playlist. I've mentioned this on stream a couple of times recently, but I recently just got into Polyphia, who are like an instrumental rock band. Although they've got some vocalists on their newest album, but yeah, I got into the newest album. And then the other day, Spotify recommended an artist to me who are called, I think, Public Service Broadcasting, or something kind of mundane sounding like that. But they kind of reminded me of Lemon Jelly in the sense that there's like some really solid guitar riffs and like melodic, repetitive looping kind of stuff with samples from like archive recordings and stuff like that. And that stuff just like, I vibe with that. Lemon Jelly is so good. Yes. Spacewalk and Nice Weather for Ducks. Basically the whole of Lost Horizons. spectacular album. Love that album. Yeah, The Race for Space. Gagarin was the track that it recommended me, and I'm like, this is immediately going on my playlist. I'm listening to this a whole bunch more. Bit niche, but I'm going to see the Proto Men in London this weekend. Very excited. Not heard of them. What kind of music? A tune for Jack loops in my brain radio often. Yeah. It's called Lemon Jelly. Yeah, the artist is Lemon Jelly. Yeah. And I think it's just one guy, or it's like a couple of them. But yeah, really, really neat electronic music kind of stuff. Samples and loops and stuff. Kind of like, if you like Lemon Jelly, Avalanches are also really good. Frontier Psychiatrist, still probably one of my favorite tracks of all time. They play rock opera loosely based on Mega Man. Really? That's cool. Like, that sounds like it's in my wheelhouse. Wish I could listen to all kinds of music, but it's mostly metal, rock, and grunge for me. I mean, fair enough. What's stopping you listen to the other kinds of music? Love the time-lapse music too. Yeah, there's some good stuff out there. The Arcadium in particular had some really great tracks. Although I think there was some issues with creative control over the Arcadium label a while back, so I've been looking for other alternatives, and ZloyXP recommended Punch Deck to me, and those are some really awesome tracks too. I listen to depressing music. Everyone goes through that phase. Guess I could, just can't get into it. Fair enough, yeah. Like, I still find there's some genres that don't appeal to me as much, but I find a couple of artists that I'm super into. Like, I don't listen to too much like hip-hop and stuff like that, but there'll be some that I get into. Like, if LL Cool J comes on at any point, I'm usually there. Like, there's a couple of... I feel like a lot of the time I go back and listen to, like, freestyles that they've done as, like, a radio session instead of listening to album tracks with rap artists. Like, I go back to watch Wretch32 and Avellino's Fire in the Booth probably maybe once a month because it's just so good, and like the lyricism is just wild, but like for some reason I can't get into their album tracks, and I don't quite know why. Like, there's some good Wretch stuff, but like, yeah, them and Akala, I always just go back and watch Akala's Fire in the Booths because the man's a genius. I'm obligated by law to like Outkast as a 40-something from Georgia. I mean, that's fair. That is in the Constitution, actually. I'm pretty sure the Constitution of the United States does have that as an amendment. Yeah, I'm eclectic. Yeah, I go back and forth. I don't feel like I hold loyalty to any particular genre. And I used to be like a big rock and metal guy when I was like in my formative teen years, but then I just got into a variety of stuff after that, and going to college for music production, having a music production degree, I was exposed to a lot of other types of music that I've really fallen in love with since. Can't listen to country music at all. It's the only genre I don't listen to. If I come across any country recommendations which are, I don't know, they feel a little bit like they're subverting the trend of country music in a sense, I guess, then I give those a listen, and those are always kind of worth a look. Because there's some artists out there who will do different stuff with a genre that I think is always worth a look. You like Satriani, so that's heckin' cool. First gig I ever went to, like first proper concert in like a concert venue that wasn't like a school thing or I know there were school trips occasionally to go and see stuff, but the first thing I ever went to, like, on my own time was Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, and Robert Fripp from King Crimson. Everyone denies they like country until Shania Twain comes. How did Shania Twain come up the other day? I think it might have been a GMM thing. I think we might have been watching Good Mythical Morning, and they were trying to figure out what year a Shania Twain album came out. Country somehow works if you're doing a road trip in the US, but then you're again, it is in the Constitution that if you're on a road trip in the US, you're listening to Rascal Flatts. That's the only the only legally obligated road trip song. Yeah. Going to gigs on school trips is a hilarious image to me. I mean, I was a music student, so we went to, but not like rock concerts, you know what I mean? We'd go and see like a cappella groups and stuff. Went to see an opera once. That was a laugh. Went to Covent Garden to see an opera that was subtitled in English, even though I think it was being performed in... I don't think it was Italian. What was it? I am looking it up. It wasn't being performed in Czech, but it was a Czech opera. I can't even remember. Maybe German? I think maybe it was in German. But we went and we had a school trip in probably year 11, because I think I was studying for GCSE music, to go and see a Smetana opera called The Bartered Bride, which is about what it sounds like. But opera is basically like, you know how soap operas are, right? The reason they're called soap operas and the way the plot lines are just so like ridiculous and people all finding out they're so-and-so's long-lost son or they had an affair with this person. That's just what opera is. Except in opera, they just sing it all the time. There's a reason daytime soap operas are called that. That's what I was saying, yeah. Opera is just daytime soap of the musical. They must have done a musical episode of EastEnders or something by now, right? Opera is always Italians arguing to music? Yes. Correct. There was a bit in The Bartered Bride where they were singing a song that was just about how much they loved beer. And I was like, this was a great school trip. Empire's the Opera. With my spear and magic helmet. I'm sure Lizzie could do an Empire's opera. Is she classically trained? She was online earlier, we could have asked her. Skeleton has found the darkness. An Empire's version of Cats? Oh, goodness. Everybody just introducing themselves until one of us gets killed. I mean, that's what happens, right? All this talk about opera makes me want to watch one. Give it a try. I'm sure they're on YouTube. Go watch Carmen or something. Bugs Bunny opera is the best, yes. Yo ho, yo ho. Made a Twitch account to share the downright amazing vibes of Home Call and The Road from the Road 96 soundtrack. Fair enough. I'm sure somebody out there will find that useful. Is the Carmina Burana an opera or a play? I don't recall. That's the one that O Fortuna comes from, though, right? Which is the incredibly dramatic music that people use as the default dramatic music for stuff. A concert piece, there you go. Covers a lot of bases, that, doesn't it? I could just start using dirt for the rest of this and not have to worry about it all being grass blocks, because once again this is all going to be covered over by castle anyway, but... I don't have that much dirt, though. Turns out... I have even less pods. I have more mycelium than I have most other dirt-type blocks right now. I suppose you could call it a cantata. I mean, if we're being honest. A cantata. Who knew building a cliff would use a lot of resources? I know, right? It's almost like the landscape is quite large. Cantata? Not with that attitude. The dad jokes are back! Mozart operas are really funny, which deviate from most other operas that are mostly tragedies. Yeah, sure, like... It's the Shakespeare approach to, You mean the theatre can be funny? And not in a dark and ironic way? Be a cantata, not a cantata. Works better in my accent than I think it does in some others. There's a group that use Fallout 76 purely to set up stages and put on operas and plays in the wasteland. I love that. Adam Clark, who's like a Minecraft educator guy and does like a lot of work with museums and stuff in Minecraft projects and schools, shared on Twitter a little while back there was a group in GTA Online who put on a production of Hamlet on one of the like super yachts that you can buy, and it was like the HMS Elsinore or whatever, and it was like, that's cool. That's kind of cool. I feel like one of my my sort of dream project, if I ever had the opportunity to do it and was just like retired from making Minecraft content at that point and was just doing it for fun, I would want to start like a Minecraft Shakespeare company and do plays set in Minecraft, but like it'd be a workshop kind of thing where you'd build the actual locations and then you could act everything out, but it wouldn't be like you were doing it on a stage, you were doing it like in the actual location. That'd be really fun. the set design, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, the GTA production of Hamlet was really funny. There was like the opening scene, I think it's Act 1, Scene 2, I guess, where like Claudius is giving his speech and being like, I've basically married my brother's widow after I killed him, but let's not talk about that for another couple of acts. And they were doing that in like the hot tub on this GTA yacht. He was all like, sometime sister, now our queen. Like, it was very good. Much Ado About Griefing is a very good joke, Ginger. Well done. You should be proud of that one. The Wandering Trader of Venice, you know? Don't think you've ever seen Hamlet? It's a good one. It'll surprise you. Hamlet was probably one of my favorite plays growing up. I was the weird kid at school who actually liked studying Shakespeare. I love The Lion King, so same. Yeah, if you've seen The Lion King, technically you've seen Hamlet. Timon and Pumbaa are Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Yes, the sequel to Hamlet. Is that a Tom Stoppard play? I'm pretty sure it's Tom Stoppard, right? I watched a movie on the plane, I think back from the United States, this last trip, which was called something. I forget. What was it called? See How They Run, in which the main like detective character, Sam Rockwell's character, was called Inspector Stoppard, and I'm like, that's another theatre joke. It's another theatre in joke they've made there. See How They Run is basically like a take on Agatha Christie murder mysteries. A sort of pastiche kind of thing, I guess. But yeah, it's a whodunit. It's a whodunit that's got some good touches to it. To be or not to be gestures with the skeleton skull. It's Alas Poor Yorick is the skeleton skull moment, but you're not too far off. Like, the amount of stuff, because obviously Shakespeare's plays are interpreted in a lot of different modern ways lately, but I do feel like you could do a pretty solid medieval Shakespeare adaptation with the tools we have available to us in Minecraft, right? Like, there are sword fights. Imagining the fight between Hamlet and Laertes playing out as Minecraft PvP is quite an entertaining concept to me. See How They Run is good, Knives Out is excellent. Yeah, as far as like takes on Agatha Christie go, I think Knives Out had the better, which was not necessarily like it didn't directly name drop Agatha Christie all the time, which is kind of the point of See How They Run. But A Midsummer Night's Phantom. The HBO Succession is basically King Lear. I didn't know that. I have not looked into that one. But that would make sense. Recently read Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. Fun but horribly anti-Semitic. Yeah, his views on women aren't that great either. But it's something that you hope people will just contextualize differently in modern adaptations. Oh, a GeForce Game Ready driver is available. Thanks, but no thanks. Unless that game is Elden Ring, Marvel Snap, or Minecraft, I am not game ready. Do I listen to the Imp and Skiers podcast ever? I mean, ever? Yes. Do I listen to it regularly? Unfortunately, no. What I've heard has been great. Like, it's two good friends chatting, and I love to listen to podcasts like that, but lately I've been trying to listen to music more than podcasts, because I feel like I listen to a lot of podcasts, and music is just more creatively inspiring to me right now. So I've got a couple of favorite podcasts that I listen to on the regular, but I have not managed to dip into Imp and Skiers lately. Any good episodes? Would you recommend some? I remember being in a pantomime, the prince was called Heimlich, and it took me until the actual opening night to realize it was Hamlet. Oh, it wasn't Hamlet. I mean, it could well be a pastiche of Hamlet. They were chatting about 2016 Minecon a month ago. That's pretty much their most watched episode so far. Gosh, I really hope that there can be an in-person Minecraft convention again. I'm still mad that I never got to really go to any of them. Like, when I was on Decidedly Vanilla back in the day, a bunch of the folks from that were attending Minecon when it was in London. But at the time, I didn't have the budget or the kind of investment in Minecraft to go. I was just still casually making videos. But yeah, I just want to meet everybody. Like, everybody I've ever collaborated with, everybody who's, watched my videos or says that they got started in Minecraft because of Survival Guide or whatever. Like, I just want to say hi to people, Do a live episode of the Spawn Chunks from Minecraft Festival or whatever they'd end up calling it. Listen to Not Another D&D podcast in the Adventure Zone. I've listened to a fair amount of Adventure Zone. Like, Balance was obviously a really fun campaign. I listened to bits of Amnesty and Graduation. I listened to the setup episodes for Ethersea, but then never really got into it further than that. And right now they're doing a whole different system, and Justin is DMing, I think. But, yeah, I haven't had a chance to check out Not Another D&D podcast, but I've heard good things. I just want to be able to play more D&D. Like, I wish I had the time to do so much more stuff. Can we petition for a few extra hours in the day and a few extra days in the week? Would like that. Ether C's pretty good. Haven't caught up with Steeplechase. I just like the setup for Ether C. I just think it's a fun way to build a world. That'd be a really interesting thing for a potential future season of Empires, is to just play a game of the Quiet Year, or A Quiet Year. I forget what it's, whether it's the or a. Hello. If you double the amount of time in a day, life expectancy halves. I started to write, a short story about a businesswoman who discovers that she can time travel and basically just spends it being more productive. And so in order to get like projects done, because she's under so much pressure at work, she goes up into her attic to sleep, rewinds time by 8 hours, sleeps for all of the time she's just been at work, and then comes back down, like, tries to avoid meeting herself because there's rules to time travel or something like that, but she knows she's doing it at least. And then, like, once she's done napping, she goes back to work and works for another 8 hours and stuff like that. And, like... Invisible Allay ghost creature. I have 3 allays, but they're visible. Yeah, the logical conclusion that I was trying to build to with this story was the idea that people started to notice she was doing it because she was only supposed to be outwardly, like, 26, but she looked like 30 or something. Like, I was trying to work out the maths of how long you'd... If you hit one, prepare for a side quest. Okay. Trying to work out the maths of, like, how long she would have to do stuff for, like, how long she'd have to be doing that before you'd noticeably... Or before you'd have aged a certain amount, right? And it was kind of a fun concept, but I recognize it's been done by other writers at this point, but like, just a fun concept. But not by you, exactly, yeah, but... Might go back and revisit it anytime I feel like writing. The thing is, back in the day, I used to go through phases of, like, I would write for a little while, I'd do some creative writing stuff, and then I'd get hooked on music again, and I'd do some songwriting stuff, and then I'd be sort of fatigued with both of those creatively and just kind of hang out and play video games and listen to other people's music and other people's stories, and then I'd go back into one or the other. And then that all changed when I started making YouTube videos, and Minecraft became a big part of that. And I was like, well, I can kind of use this as my creative outlet, and this is something I've been able to sustain for a lot longer than I ever did songwriting or creative writing. So that's sort of the way my career trajectory ended up. But back when I was working in bookshops, I kind of got bit by the bug for creative writing, and it's how I met my partner and everything, so... Still feel like it's something I'd like to return to in future if I can, but in the meantime, focusing on fun projects like this, because it's a chance to be visually creative when I am otherwise not that artistically inclined. Minecraft is a canvas I feel more comfortable with. Paleo Philosopher, thank you so much for the 100 bits. Welcome in. Thank you for showing some love. Happy to have you here. Have you ever tried listening to a band called Cargo? I have not, to my knowledge, but sometimes I have a hard time remembering the names of artists or the titles of songs when I have heard stuff and just not internalized it, you know? Love writing and keep too many... I assume docs? and Notion notes, but someday I'd like to put them together into something. Yeah, like the ideal is to be like one of those artists who people are interested enough in later in life that they put together all of their, you know, notes and random marginalia and poetry and all that kind of stuff, and like the Frida Kahlo's diary kind of vibe continues. The dream. Not having to compile all of that stuff and do all of the work yourself, but for people to appreciate you. I end up publishing anything I made? Not professionally speaking, no. I maybe put a little bit of stuff up on websites here and there, but never really in a way that it was ever going to get it seen by anyone. Just have stories playing in your head but can't get it on paper smoothly. Yeah, that's the other struggle with any kind of creative writing project, is like you can imagine a cool story, but can you pen it? And that's an interesting one. Like we talked about this on the last couple of streams and on this week's podcast actually, but it's like the aphantasia test of like when you picture an apple, what do you picture? Except it's like the reverse of that. It's like, if you can picture a perfect apple, can you draw a perfect apple? And the answer for a lot of people is probably not. Like translating the thoughts in your head down onto any kind of creative output on the page is a very different process. Do I think I'll update my Empire Season 2 map? What do you mean by that? Do I have a map of this area? Can't take a picture of the image in your brain? Yeah. The one I drew at the start of the season. Did I draw a map? What? Oh, the one in Wonderdraft. Sorry, like I was thinking in-game for some reason, and my brain just couldn't quite get there. I'm trying to think of the stuff that actually needs to be updated, because most of it just marks where people's empires are, but the sprites in Wonderdraft are like the default set of sprites, and I don't have the time to design new ones or anything. I don't really have the artistic ability to design new ones either, so like it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to mess with that too much, because people's empires haven't really changed position. But yeah, I mean, Hermitopia is on there now. The Archipelago was on there for a while, I think. Like, I'm pretty sure. Let me look. I still have it on my desktop. This one. Yeah, this is, I can put this on stream. This is the most recent one. This is all drawn using a piece of software called Wonderdraft. It is paid-for software. But if I stretch that out like so, there you go. You can get a general idea of where people are. So, like, we're in the ancient capital over on the left-hand side, and basically everybody else is further east. But I don't think anything about this has really changed, other than more buildings have been added, and I don't really have great ways of representing other people's buildings on here. In before Windows sound effect. It's gone. Alright. Yes, Incarnate is also good. I've heard a few comparisons between Wonderdraft and Incarnate that said Wonderdraft felt more intuitive to use. And I've been really happy with it. Like, I also used it for my own D&D campaign when we wanted to put together a world map for that, so that and Dungeon Draft have been kind of fun to play around in. Dungeon Draft is a program I would put a lot more time into if I had enough time. Because Dungeon Draft can output, like, maps that you can import into stuff like Roll20 and any kind of, like, virtual tabletop environment like that. Welcome in, Radcat. Everyone's doing pretty well, as far as I'm aware. So this cliff might potentially come along this side as well. But we've done pretty well here. Like, we've got a decent amount of this done. Sure feels like we have a landscape here. Rose of Demeter, hello. First time catching a stream. Funny when I joined streaming talking about writing, so I decided to watch, pop in a stream so I could watch and write a story I've been procrastinating. Well, get on that. Everyone in chat will be cheering you on. But yes, excellent timing. I already have a stone shulker box over here, actually. Do I not? At this point, the way to tell where I've left my shulker boxes is to fly away from the scenery here and see which parts of it disappear at a distance. And that's probably my shulker boxes. Alright, all of those can go in there. I'll put the grass in there as well. We'll put the rest of the fancy stone in here, and then we'll switch tacks and we'll build a bit more cliff. What do I think of Bedrock Edition? I don't mind it. I don't play it myself, but I don't mind it. Seems like it's probably the most sensible option to play if you want to play with friends. Chat is a singular entity, you are. Prefer D&D with online platforms and minis or Theatre of the Mind only? I'm kind of on the fence about which I prefer. Like, I'm good with either, really. Theatre of the Mind is more what I'm used to because I've never really gotten into the minifigure side of things, and at first when I started playing with my group of friends, we didn't use Roll20. A couple of us were playing on like laptops and stuff that weren't really going to be able to keep up with running a video call and a virtual tabletop environment at the same time. And also I didn't really know how to use it, and I didn't want that to be a barrier to entry for us being able to play. Plus, I just like rolling real dice. Not that you can't do that with Roll20, but a lot of the die rolling in that is built into the program, right? But yeah, I've gotten into Roll20 now that we've been using it with the 8-bit D&D campaign, which is something that I stream with my friends from the 8-bit community over on their Twitch channel every other Sunday. We've got a session coming up this Sunday, actually. And yeah, that's been fun. Like, I have no complaints about Roll20, but I kind of like the Theatre of the Mind approach. You've just got to be prepared for combat to be a little bit different because you're not calculating everything in feet and inches the way you are in any kind of environment where you can play on a grid, you know? My campaign is much less combat focused, though, so we don't get kind of like rules lawyery about whether you're close enough to something or not. And I like the storytelling aspect of being able to describe what's happening and paint a mental picture without it all having to be visually represented. What do I think about the 1.19.4 update? I don't think there's too much to really have an opinion on. Like, I think the accessibility features are kind of cool. I think it's good that they've started putting in more stuff like, or taking out even stuff like the potion glint so that you can see a little bit better what color the potions are for easy recognition, and they've also acknowledged that that's not the best approach to the problem, but it's one that they can make quickly in the meantime while they focus on hopefully getting the art team to update all potions in future. But yeah, like, aside from that, there's not really a whole lot coming to 1.19.4 that needs talked about. Can do Theatre in the Mind on Roll20? Yeah, of course you can, yeah. And technically all of it is going to have to be Theatre of the Mind to an extent, because otherwise you'd just be playing a video game RPG. Am I excited for 1.20? Absolutely. But I'm always excited for new Minecraft updates. Also really looking forward to Minecraft Legends coming out next month. Obviously, it's not going to be the same... I don't know, like, it's not going to have the same shelf life as Minecraft. It's not going to be an infinite game in the same way that Minecraft is, but what I've seen of that game looks really entertaining and fun. Looks real cute. It does. The creepers are so squishy. Love a squishy creeper. But I feel like if people have already started to talk about how the sniffer in Minecraft 1.20 is going to be the thing that encourages them to update older animations from older Minecraft mobs, I feel like Minecraft Legends is going to ignite that conversation as well, because all of the mobs having, like, custom walk cycles and stuff like that, they just look so fun. So fun to play. I kind of like this style of cliff. It's maybe like a little bit square here. We don't want it too square. But I sort of like this style of cliff more than I like the really busy stuff that we're doing over here. I like having outcroppings and little bits and pieces like that. But I think sometimes you just need a flatter section like this to really feel like it's big and bulky and made of stone, you know? Reminds me of the building with B-Dub's cliff. Has he done a cliff recently, or is it an old one? Am I going to leave my terraforming hollow? That's the plan right now. I would love to have the time to put in, like, some kind of thing under the castle where you go down into that area and there's a dungeon or something, but realistically, will I have the time for it? I don't know. I like to see an animations toggle, so if they give everything new animations, you still really want your OG chickens and cows, you can have them. Yeah, it's difficult not to want a toggle for absolutely everything, though, right? Like, we've got the resource pack thing that lets you put old graphics back on if you want to have your netherrack look like, I don't know, weird bony blood vomit. But, which is my death metal band. But if you have sliders and video settings for everything, I don't know, it starts to get a little intense after a while. Old netherrack red static, yeah. Weird bony blood vomit was the follow-up to the Red Hot Chili Peppers album Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Weirdly, it didn't sell quite as well. It didn't really put them on the map in the same way. Do I have any pro tips for terraforming better? The one tip I will give is when you're working with large areas like this, especially, first of all, it helps to shape things before you add texture, because texture can kind of feel like it's muddling things a lot, and you end up focusing more on the texture and less on the scale, and the scale is the really important thing for terraforming. But the way I tend to build up like cliff faces and stuff like this now, to prevent it from getting too like granular and over detailed looking, where you've got like this going on all the time and then it starts to look kind of like patchworky and like everything is like a cubit level, you know what I mean, where it's like everything is a staircase. The way I tend to work now is to build up like a series of overlapping larger flat areas that are all kind of interlocking like this. And you might end up using more material for stuff like this, but like you've got this area that's kind of like a 4x4 square with maybe like a little bit missing up here, and then you can build something kind of that overlaps a little bit behind that, and you're building like a 3x4 sort of thing there, and then that has a little bit of overlap to it, but that feels like a bit more natural for a larger wall than it does having all of the little minor details in this that kind of give it almost too much detail and depth and everything. Like, depending on what material you're working with, that can still work, but I think keep the shapes as simple as possible if you can. And even though the Minecraft world has that kind of like blocky, staircasey thing, that's because, for the most part, Minecraft's terrain is designed to be player traversable. Whereas in real life, if you're looking at making some more realistic terraforming, build cliffs. Because there are a lot of those in real life. There are a whole lot of these in real life. And there are areas where it's not possible for you to just walk up a hill. Like, making stuff less traversable by the player is actually going to help with the realism of the landscape. Like how vertically folded strata look like when naturally eroded. If that was a sentence that made sense to you, yes. Not a geologist. Like terraform by making Tetris pieces for small slopes. That's a good way of doing it. Whatever like shorthand for this stuff really works for you. Find a rhythm and go with it. Wilbur Woods, thank you so much for the 12 months. Everyone spam the word nerd in the chat, please. Really appreciate the resub. For the full year supporting the channel, enjoy your nerd sub badge and welcome to the Nerd Herds. Big old nerds. Gotta love them. Isn't the idea of making things unclimbable made moot by wings? That's not necessarily the point. The point is for things to look unclimbable, not to be unclimbable. If you're looking for realism in your terrain, then you're not really worried about whether you can fly to the top of something in a video game. Like, you're still looking for it to feel like this might exist in the real world. And I really feel like extremes of terrain like this are more fun in Minecraft than not having them. Am I going to texture the cliffs? I already have done in some places. Like, if you go around the front here, there's like little bits and pieces. But one of the things I want to do with this is not focus so much on texturing the cliffs themselves, even though down here we've got some like moss and mossy cobblestone and stuff growing. A lot of that is going to be informed by where the river is going to come down here as well. But instead, I want to focus more on having like boulders and stuff in front of it, and things which you can sort of get away with putting less detail into the cliff face itself if you have some stuff in front of it that kind of creates like foreground or midground interest with the cliff being just like a flat background. It's like how detailed things get the further back you go in the picture, in a sense. And so we could have something right in the foreground here that's like some sort of interesting monument, and then behind that is a boulder made of a slightly more interesting textured material, but still like a fairly flat object. And then behind that is these really tall but very flat cliffs where all you want to get is conveying the shape. It's like if you're taking a photograph of a landscape and there's something in the foreground, the stuff in the foreground is going to be in focus and it's going to be the interesting part potentially, and then the background is all just going to be literally background. Like that's sort of the idea. These cliffs are really a backdrop to everything that's going on in the town below. So I'm going to get away with doing as little texturing on the cliffs as possible, also because these are so large that it's going to be a mammoth project to do that, and I won't get to do any of the other building. That makes sense? Hopefully it does. And yeah, you don't want everything to be so highly textured that it looks noisy to look at stuff that's in the foreground. To make it fully Minecraft, there should be a dangling trader llama, yes. Yes. Large slabs of andesite and stuff could work well. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing a sort of lip of andesite along this. This was something my podcast co-host Joel suggested doing to make it feel like the edge of the cliff is kind of shinier and worn down by the elements or people walking on it or whatever it would happen to be. But the boulder up there is made of stone tuff and andesite and a couple of other bits and pieces, a bit of mossy stone. And the tough boulder down there is kind of an example of where I'm going with it. If it was really textured, it draws away from the castle too. Exactly, yeah, this is really just meant to be like a pedestal for a more detailed statue. Except instead of a statue, it's a building, but you get that. Did I find Rendog's other giblets? I know where one of them is. Sausage has another one. And I think the diamond is still at large. I'm not sure if he put that in the starter house at Hermitopia and Joey took it, or if that one's somewhere else. But I'm not sure where the diamond went. But yeah, me discovering that Sausage has the other one is maybe something that will happen on camera soon. Oh, did Shovel buy the diamond? Because I think she ran into the, I think the bow is out in one of the Badlands biomes somewhere. So I'm not sure if that's in Jimmy's backyard or if it's somewhere else, but I didn't run into that one when I was flying around. Is the cliff like B-Dub's Season 7 base? No, it's like My Empire's Season 2 base. I'm not really basing this on anything that's I've seen in Minecraft already. I'm basing this more on landscapes that I've been traversing myself in my playthrough of Elden Ring. Yeah, I know Sausage is online right now, but I kind of want to do that stuff in videos, and it's easier for me to be like, I don't really have a character in this series, but it's also nicer to be in character in videos. The streams are more like the behind-the-scenes stuff. And we are just about approaching time here, so I'm going to continue doing a bit more of this week. But for now, even though the cliff it's coming along, but it's not quite going places yet. I will probably pick this up another time. For now, we're going to find somebody to raid, because I still wanted to finish at the same time, even though we started a little bit later today. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Thank you to everyone who dropped by, dropped a sub, resubs, bits and cheers, all of that stuff. Very much appreciated. Let's see who's out here streaming some Minecraft today. I'll tell you what, I've been talking about Joel a fair bit. Let's go and say hi to Joel. This is Joel Duggan, my Canadian podcast co-host from the Spawn Chunks podcast. Also, if you want to watch something completely different, my partner is streaming in the other room using fountain pens and cool stationery stuff to write out the entirety of Lord of the Rings by hand. Oh, Ski Pro, thank you so much for the 15 months. And yeah, my partner stream is adult language, adult conversation, but a lovely place and worth your time if you feel like watching something other than Minecraft. But if you're in the Minecraft mood, I'm going to send you over to Joel Duggan, who is building the medieval town of West Hill and has been streaming a lot lately just to get the bits and pieces of stuff done. He is playing on the Citadel, which is a private server that he owns. So go say hi to Joel for me. You can use your Pixel Hype emotes in the hashtag Pixel Raid. Go check out this lovely project he's been working on for almost 2 years now, I think. It's been a heck of a job, but he's more of a part-time Minecraft player compared to us no-lifers here on Empires. But he's still done a fantastic job of building up this project. Hope you all enjoy the raid, and I'll see you again tomorrow. If you're going to watch the Elden Ring stream, that's going to be 6 p.m. UK time, which might be different depending if your clocks have changed lately. And if you're back for Minecraft on Thursday, I will see you then. Hope you have a good one. Take care. Bye for now.